In Palestine, thousands of residents of Gaza City are currently being evacuated to the south after a warning by the Israeli occupation forces. In Bolivia, more than 611,000 families are affected by the severe droughts currently affecting 7 of the 9 departments of the country. In India, the 9th Parliamentary Summit of the Nation of the Group of 20 began with a view to promoting global governance in order to face the current legislative challenges. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Thousands of residents of Gaza City are currently being evacuated to the south after a warning by the Israeli occupation forces. The warning comes before an attack by the Israeli forces to be carried out this Friday in the northern area of the territory, where more than 1 million people live. Let's remember that in the last 24 hours, the percentage of displaced citizens rose to 25%, resulting in an approximate number of 423,378 displaced people. Therefore, the United Nations called on the United Nations community to declare that any similar measure must be abolished immediately in order to avoid devastating humanitarian consequences. On Thursday, the head of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, expressed his concern for all the families affected by the bombardment in the Gaza Strip.
Worried. My heart goes to all those who have lost their lives and their families, both from Israel and Palestine. This is a very sad moment. But in this conflict, still, I think those who need support should be supported, and those who need protection should be protected.
The leader also requested the help of the Egyptian government to open a humanitarian corridor to provide provisions and supplies to the affected population in the Gaza Strip.
I just came from Cairo, actually, yesterday. Came back from Cairo. And I met President al-Sisi of Egypt. And I asked him if he could help in transferring medical supplies through the Gaza crossing, the Rafah crossing, to help the Palestinians in Gaza, which he had agreed. And we need a corridor to provide medical services and so on. That's what I would ask for. One is to protect civilians, and second, to provide them with the support they need, be it food, medical services, supplies, and the other things they need.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, in Amman, Jordan. The meeting was held behind closed doors, and no further information on the results of the meeting is known. Blinken will also meet with Jordanian King Abdullah II, who has condemned the incessant Israeli bombardments on the Palestinian enclave. Between tomorrow and Sunday, he will visit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. Meanwhile, the American official came from Israel, where he assured that his country will guarantee everything necessary to put an end to the Palestinian faction Hamas. On Friday, Hezbollah's Secretary General Sayed Hassan Nasrallah received Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, and Lebanese press stated that its authority held a meeting to review actions taken in the region, particularly the current Israeli attack on the Gaza Strip in the occupied Palestine. Iranian Minister Hossein Amir assured that it is important for his country to maintain calm in Lebanon. He also reiterated the strong political and media support for the Palestine resistance in the context of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip. Both officials said in the national and regional stances, as well as the likely outcomes ahead of the historical incidents and their dangerous development. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Mehdi Shurstari and Iranian Ambassador to Beirut, Mojtaba Amani, were also present at the meeting. In Iraq, dozens of thousands of protesters took to Baghdad streets to ban the Palestinian people. Demonstrators waved Iran's and Palestine's flag as they were first in motos and carrying banners. No occupation done with Israel. According to local media, supporters trampled Israeli flags to spread rejection to the actions taken by the occupying forces. Similar rallies occurred at once in different nations of the region. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, new dates, and more. All studies coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Ecuador, presidential candidates Luisa González and Daniel Noboa concluded their electoral campaigns. The closing acts took place in the province of Santa Elena and Guayaquil, wearing a national circuit team jersey and a bulletproof vest. The candidate of the Citizen Revolution, who won the first round of these extraordinary elections, concluded the promotion stage with a multitudinous act in the coastal city of Guayaquil. During her speech, she denounced the increase in violence and the 280,000 Ecuadorians who migrated as a result of the crisis in an Andean country. Venezuela celebrated on Thursday the resolution adopted at the United Nations Human Rights Council against the imposition of unilateral coercive measures. The permanent representative of the South American country to the multilateral organization in Geneva, Héctor Constant, valued this result in his X account as a new victory for international law. The resolution in question indicates that no state may resort or encourage the use of any type of measure to coerce another state in order to obtain it from the subordination of the exercise of its sovereign rights or to obtain it for the advantages of any kind. During the 39th session of the Human Rights Committee, Foreign Minister Ivan Gil denounced that Venezuela was targeted by the perverse strategy of regime change promoted by the United States and the international ultra-right. During the sixth meeting of the International Forum on the Russian Energy Week, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez assured that Western sanctions against Venezuela remain intact. Delcy Rodriguez stated that the unilateral coercive measures imposed by the United States and the European Union caused serious damage to the Venezuelan economy. The high official also indicated that the impact of the sanctions against the country has had as a consequence a lot of thousands of dollars in oil production. Rodriguez pointed out that following the people's own efforts, the government has undergone an economic recovery process, highlighting that by 2024, Venezuela is projected to be one of the first countries in South America to grow.
The 930 unilateral coercive measures called illegal and illegitimate sanctions are still intact against Venezuela. It is a system of sanctions, extortion, blackmail, which precisely sought to asphyxiate the Venezuelan economy, to pressure and push the Venezuelan people to change their political course. That is the first thing. There are 930 sanctions against Venezuela that are absolutely enforced. Now the impact that this has had on the Venezuelan economy is brutal. In 5 years, Venezuela has lost the production of 3,995 million barrels, a barbaric figure that represents $232 billion.
The executive vice president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, stressed that the economic bloc at the BRIC is contributing to the formation of a new world.
The BRICS today have 43 of the world's energy reserves, but it has also become a space for meeting and dialogue between the world's main producers and consumers. That it accounts for 29% of the world's gross domestic product, 46% of the world's population, 45% of the exports of goods, and 46% of the oil production. It's a new world where Russia, well, it's in that coordinator, the re-dollarization, the creation of a new world.
In the United States, Democrat Senator Bob Menendez was indicted for accepting bribes on behalf of a foreign government and acting as an undercover agent. The indictments handed down by the federal jury in Manhattan showed that Menendez provided sensitive U.S. government information and took other action that secretly aided the government of Egypt. These indictments allege that Bob Menendez leveraged his political influence for illicit financial gains worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The new indictment comes just weeks after the Democrats and his wife were accused of accepting bribes in cash, while bullion and a luxury car from the three New Jersey businessmen who wanted the senator to help and influence them in foreign affairs. In Bolivia, more than 611,000 families are affected by the severe drought currently affecting 7 of the 9 departments of the country. The Bolivian Civil Defense stated that around 133 municipalities have been declared in a state of disaster due to the lack of water. According to the agency Vice Minister Juan Calvimontes, a lot of vital liquid has impacted at least 611,251 families. The entity informs that the departments of Chuquisaca, Cochabamba, and La Paz are in a state of emergency due to the lack of water. They also indicated that in the coming weeks, a decrease in the number of affected communities is expected due to an approximation of rainfall in several areas of the country. The Vietnamese government called for climate monitoring and effective measures to be taken in view of the flooding risks in the center of the country. The National Hydrometeorological Forecasting Center reported that rainfall could range from 200 to 400 millimeters, while in some areas it could reach 700 millimeters. Vietnam's head of government urged local authorities to evacuate areas at risk of landslines and flash floods, and ordered them to implement safety plans to provide temporary shelter, food, and basic necessity for evacuated civilians. A few days earlier, flooding in the province in the north of the country left 5 dead, 7 injured, and 2 missing. We have a second job break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel and TeleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to set up to date on the world's more recent events. Final job break, don't go away. Welcome back. The 9th Parliamentary Summit of the Nation of the Group of 20 began on Friday in India with a view to promoting global governance in order to face the current legislative challenges. The opening day of the parliamentary meeting was led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who stressed the importance of public participation in addressing global challenges. He also stressed his confidence in the positive impact of the presentations and exchange of experiences. Modi said that mainstreaming gender equality and digital transformation for life are part of the agenda. This summit, which for the first time includes representation from the Pan-African Parliament, will culminate with the adoption of a joint declaration to call for an international solution for equity, inclusion, and peace. In Angola, the National Assembly debates proposal for the removal of President João Lourenço. The motion presented by a group of opposition parliamentarians argued that the president subverted the democratic process and consolidated an authoritarian regime that threatened peace and citizens' rights. In this regard, the president of the National Assembly, Carolina Cerqueira, instructed the Permanent Commission to receive and discuss a possible impeachment trial of the President of the Republic. The parliamentary majority is held by the Popular Liberation Movement of Angola, which supports Lourenço's administration. The government of Zimbabwe is threatening epidemiological change in the face of a new cholera outbreak, following the death of 100 people and the detection of at least 905 confirmed cases. Among the limitations announced by the Ministry of Health, it is a reduction of visits to open markets, avoiding social gatherings, and attending open-air religious camps. Besides, the serving of food and shaking hands at events has been banned. Also, the authorities detail that the disease is a consequence of problems in the supply of potabilization of water, affecting areas of Southern Africa in Zimbabwe, Malawi, South Africa, and Mozambique. Moroccans rejected the involvement of international financial institutions in global poverty and climate change during the annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in Maghreb. More than 70 organizations and social movements gathered to protest against the agenda of the annual meeting of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The participants warned the organizations that they cannot be condescending and support economic policies that imply step backwards in environmental matters. The demonstration started in the central Badoukal Square in the old part of Marrakech and circulated under attentive police employment. In Morocco, the International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva told a press conference that what is happening in Gaza is regrettable and said that the IMF is closely monitoring the evolution of the situation and how it affects the oil markets.
What is our reaction to that? It's heartbreaking to see innocent civilians dying. An attack from one place on another, causing also reciprocity in response. Who pays the price? It is the innocent who pay the price. We are very closely monitoring how the situation evolves, how it is affecting especially oil markets. It is too early to say. We have seen some up and down of oil prices. We have seen some reaction on markets. And as I said, we will be closely monitoring this. Very, very clearly, this is a new cloud on not the sunniest horizon for the world economy. New cloud darkening this horizon, of course, not needed. Pray for peace.
Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived on Thursday in Kyrgyzstan for a two-day official visit. This is the president's first international trip so far in 2023. The Russian head of state's plane landed at Manas Airport in the city of Bishkek, RIA Novosti reports. His Kyrgyz counterpart Sadiq Saparov received Putin at the hall in front of the presidential residence Ala Arsha. During his visit, Putin later worked at the Atabeye Tomb of the Fathers Memorial Complex, located 25 kilometers from the capital and built in memory of those who died during the tragic events in 1916. In addition, the president held talks at the state residence during which they discussed key issues for the development of bilateral relations in the political, economic, commercial, military, technical, cultural, humanitarian fields, and others.
First of all, I would like to note that your visit has a great symbolic meaning since it coincided with the 20th anniversary of the Khan Air Base and the 30th anniversary of the Kyrgyz-Russian Slavic University. These significant events in our bilateral relations are symbols of our friendship. We highly value the Kyrgyz-Russian strategic partnership and allied relations. Russia is one of the leading trade and economic partners of Kyrgyzstan. Last year, the trade turnover increased by 37% to a record nearly $3.5 billion US, and in the first half of this year, it added another 17.9%. Russia is the largest investor in the Kyrgyz economy. About 36% of all accumulated foreign direct investment in Kyrgyzstan is made up of Russian investments. There are 800 enterprises with Russian participation operating in the Republic.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.